do that. So much power. The grin factor is strong. Alright guys, good day. So right in front of me right now is the 2022 Harley Davidson Sportster S. The American manufacturer hardly comes out with something that is like this, but when it does, it is exciting. It goes against its traditional recipe of producing a V-twin with a single crank pin, but this new engine is a 1250cc Revolution Max, which is meant to rev higher than the usual motor from Harley Davidson. The 1250cc liquid cooled V-twin produces around 120 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and a whopping 120 Newton meters of torque at 9,000 RPMs. That's a lot of power, guys, from a Harley Davidson, especially from something that looks like a cruiser. Low slung, legs forward, handles stretch forward. Wow, I love the design of this bike. Look at that line, that's straight from the front to the rear. The huge tires, the front is a 160 section on a 17-inch rims, and the rear is a 180 section on 16-inch rims. It looks amazing with that scrambler like exhaust pipe sticking out to the side. It just looks so mean. As you can see, this bike is fitted with something a little bit different, which is these footrests, which are aftermarket, these rail guards here, and the windscreen, of course, to dampen the effect of the wind as you use the power from this motor in order to accelerate hard. Well, one thing about me, I love bikes with round headlights, and as you can see here, Harley Davidson, they've done away with the round headlights with something a little bit more different, I would say, for this time around. You can see here it's a bit of an oval shape. You can see here the indicators have a little Harley logo inside. The detail on this bike is just remarkable. They've managed to hide a lot of the wires and whatever is required in order to have a liquid cooled engine very well, and it just looks cool everywhere. The fuel cap is really well detailed. The LED is so cool. Even the brake reservoir has this Harley logo on it, which makes it look so premium to a different level. I love the fit and finishing of this bike. The switch gear feels nice to the touch. The click is so satisfying. If you ride a lot of budget bikes and you ride this bike after that, it just feels a little bit different in comparison. Well, that's what you get for paying a huge premium for a cruiser motorcycle, which is 106,000 ringgit for this bike. Alright, so to find out more about this bike, let's do less staring and talking. Let's swing a leg over it and give it a ride. Turn it on like that. It's a keyless bike, very unconventional, especially for my experience. So as you can see here, it does come in with a TFT color screen, which is amazing. They've incorporated into this round housing here very well. As you can see here, there's a lot of options. Like you have navigation, turn-by-turn navigation. If you connect to a Bluetooth device, you can see it is, I didn't connect, so you have music, you have your bike diagnostics and information, you have settings as well, and well, I shall go home because I am not connected to this bike. Okay, without further ado, let's give this bike a start. Sounds beautiful. Well, sounds a little bit different to the single pin crank Harleys that we are all used to. As you can see, I tried to rev the bike and it just locks out at 3,000 RPMs. It doesn't allow me to rev any higher than that. So I guess what we have to do is swing a leg over it. Let's give this bike a good ride. Alright, seated on this bike, I am 173 centimeters tall, which is around 5'7", with a 29-inch inseam. I can definitely flat foot on this bike, and it is not a very tall bike. You can see it's quite low. The seat height is here in the screen, and arms stretched out to the front, legs stretched out. So that is a very different seating position than what I'm usually used to. So to tell you more about how it rides, let's start riding. Oh. The clutch feels quite smooth and controllable. It's not that heavy to operate. You can see the screen here, it tells you your speed and the revs that you're doing. Right now 4,000 RPMs, but there's a small number over there that indicates the gear you're in, so that's on third gear. Side mirrors do not vibrate too much, they're good size, but they have been moved by the wind, which is quite annoying, to be honest, from speeding earlier. I was doing the speed limit and it just pushed itself back. That's a lot of torque. There's no quick shifter, guys, so I gotta clutch in order to do all that fancy schmancy. Okay, let's talk about comfort. This seat feels quite thin, as you expect. It's more of a form over function kind of approach for a motorcycle. In order to have this kind of look, this slim seat does not give much cushion to the butt, but you know, it's not too bad. To be honest, and it is quite warm, I have to say, with the exhaust being right underneath the butt, and the seat is kind of warm at the same time as well, but it's not like it's roasting my thighs like it would do if I were to ride on a Ducati. So talking about the ergonomics, the rider triangle is completely foreign to me. Forward reaching handlebars with the legs reaching forward as well. Low seat, this is a foreign place for me to be on, and I'm not familiar to this position at all. I have to say that this is out of my comfort zone, but I am here to tell you about it from a sports bike rider perspective. Okay, the position is not too low, even though the seat height is quite low in general, but I don't feel like I'm on such a low bike that it makes much of a difference. Comfort wise, it's not too bad. The handlebar doesn't vibrate too much, especially at speeds. I was quite surprising that it didn't try to rattle my arms off or didn't shake my bones apart, and it's just so compliant to the bike. And I would have to say this engine is very well tuned and balanced in order for them to achieve that. This V-twin feels so good. But these brakes don't match the performance of this bike, unfortunately. I'll talk about that a bit later. It's just, it sticks out too much in order for me to ignore it. I guess if you have to improve something about this bike right now from first impression, I have to say it's definitely the brakes. The short travel suspension is not the biggest elephant in the room, although next it would impose me to talk about the suspension. So the front is operated by a 43mm upside down fork with a monoshock in the rear. So as you can see, since this bike is quite low, the suspension travel itself is not very extensive. It doesn't have a lot of travel, that's what I'm trying to say, and you can feel a lot of the bumps and undulations of the road. The rake of the suspension is steep, so you can definitely feel some resistance in the turns, and coupled with the big diameter tires, which is a 17-inch at the front with 160 section tire, massive. These are rear tires on some bikes. And with 16-inch on the rear with 180 section, these are massive donuts that you have to work with, especially with me used to being on sports bikes, agile and nimble in comparison. I have to constantly remind myself that I am not on one of those right now, and thank God it is a hot day so I can ride with confidence. Not saying this bike doesn't have what it takes in order for you to ride confidently. It has a suite of electronic controls, has power modes, ABS, traction control, but I am not turning any of those rider aids off. A lot of torque. I really don't want it to surprise me in a bad way, and especially with traffic being a little bit erratic from earlier on today. The gear shift's quite direct and precise, so nothing to complain about that. Electronics wise, it does come with a suite of safety rider aids such as power modes, traction control, ABS, and you know, some toys and gadgetry that it comes with are navigation, music, Bluetooth, color screen, which is nice to look at, menu that is easy to navigate around. It is not too complicated for you to navigate around the infotainment system, I have to say. So next we are entering a busy area here, as you can see here, with a lot of double parking, with a lot of this going on. That's going to be a bit of a challenge, because this bike is not very nimble, I have to say. But the clutch is thankfully not too heavy, so it is nice to have a bike that is not too challenging to maneuver around in this kind of traffic. Oh. But you can definitely feel the weight at lower speeds. The resistance to turn is also there from the steep rake suspension, and now I can feel the heat from the engine under my thighs. Ooh, this is not nice. I have to get moving. This is a warm place to be. I keep missing the foot pegs because I expect it to be underneath my butt, but it is actually at the front. So that's something to get used to if you're not used to riding this kind of motorcycle. Since there's no quick shifter, I'm more comfortable to do clutchless shifts to upshift again. So next, let's talk about the biggest improvement on this bike, being the engine. It's powered by a 1250cc liquid-cooled V-twin motor that is new, completely brand new to Harley Davidson. They call it the Revolution Max, where this bike now revs to 9,000 RPMs. It does produce a lot of power compared to traditional Harley Davidson. Whopping 127 Newton meters of torque at 7,000 RPM. That is massive, guys. That is a lot of power, and definitely felt it earlier. A lot of suspension can be felt just now. A lot of suspension can be felt just now. What that motor is known for, a lot of torque. It doesn't run out of revs, it doesn't shake too much at the higher revs, so it does give you a bit of confidence, and it does remind you that you are on an interesting V-twin motor, so it does give a bit of character while at the same time. shouldn't be able to do that. Man, this bike should belong on the highway, but so much power. The grin factor is strong. Let's continue a bit about the engine. It's a lot of power, a lot of torque. Definitely a lot of torque. There's enough torque to get you excited for a long time. I don't know why you would need more torque than this, and this engine is just amazing. Woo! But it does come with a lot of heat though, especially at slow traffic, so you just gotta keep moving, I guess. Yeah, coupled with this 6-speed gearbox. This gearbox, I have to say, is quite smooth, but there's no quick shifter. You could do with a quick shifter, definitely, in order to deal with some of this power transition from gear to gear. The clutch is easy to operate, it's light. I have to say, this engine is the star of this show, and definitely something that everybody should experience. I like this bike. I like this bike a lot. This engine is quirky. It's got a lot of power, doesn't complain too much, doesn't vibrate too much. Harley has made something very, very cool, I guess. But yeah, we are entering slow traffic, and I will be experiencing some of that heat that I experienced earlier, which is not so decent. The thin seats, not much insulation going on. Sitting on this low slung bike, basically on the engine as a stress member, there's definitely not much between me and the hot stuff underneath my butt. And I can definitely feel a lot of that. Woo, it's hot. Amazing though, this bike is an awesome bike to be on. Okay, one thing about the engine, relating to the engine, is the sound. It doesn't sound very Harley Davidson to me. It doesn't have that potato factor. You know, that single pin crank is no longer used in order for them to achieve this high power output, because that configuration does not give the right amount of balance to the engine. In that sense, a lot of Harley purists might not be too happy with what has been done to the latest Harley Davidsons with the Revolution Max engine. That's gonna split the faction into the pure Harley owners and the non-pure Harley owners, I guess. Where, you know, some would like the traditional Milwaukee twin with the potato character, but this bike has none of that. It just revs freely and easily with little to none vibration through the handlebars. I guess that's something for you to ponder if you're wondering whether you want to buy this Harley Davidson and want to ride amongst the Harley Davidson group or MC. This is not one of those traditional Harley Davidsons that might be accepted among the Harley Davidson crowd. Nonetheless, as a motorcycle, this is a wonderful motorcycle. Okay, the Achilles heel about this bike, I have to point out, are the brakes. Although it is powered by a 4-piston Brembo radial caliper, it is a single disc, unfortunately, way underpowered. The braking power is so lacking for this bike, especially of this weight, 220 kilograms, and this performance, this much torque. Man, this bike needs at least twin discs in order for it to perform well. And the other thing about the brakes is the lack of feel of the front brakes. The connection between the rider and the brake is not being transmitted well through the levers, although it is a radial master cylinder. The rear brakes doesn't do much at all, so do not bother using the rear brakes at all. Maybe if you want to do U-turns at low speeds, perhaps, but other than that, not much use of rear brakes in my opinion on this motorcycle. So yeah, so who is this bike for? I have to say, this is a motorcycle that is aimed for the younger generation, the younger crowd, people who are used to riding sports bikes, and people who are looking for a sports cruiser, a power cruiser, which is the likes of the X-Diavel from Ducati, the Rocket 3 from Triumph. These are the kind of bikes that Harley Davidson aims to please or capture, and I think they've done a great job in doing that, because I can see myself transitioning from a sports bike to this bike as a second bike, maybe not as a replacement to my CB. It's just not nimble enough for me, unfortunately. Okay, so yeah, if you have a chance, you should give it a try. It is an interesting bike to experience, definitely one that is a huge tick off the list for me. I've been waiting a long time to try. Maneuverability, although it's not there, I guess, you know, with a bit of weight, low slung, low rake, you gotta give something. So yeah, guys, I guess that's it from me. I hope you enjoy my little review of this Harley Davidson Sportster S, where this is an amazing bike for new Harley Davidson riders, I think. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Stay tuned for other materials on my channel, and if you have any questions or comments, please write them in the comment section below. Other than that, most importantly, stay safe, ride safe, and have a great day. Bye bye.